Consultation Podcast Network.
Send your people in.
Shut the area down. It's that simple. I'll just shut the area down. Yeah. And I got everybody from the Shriners Convention to the goddamn Boy Scouts traipsing through here. I got lost kids, lost dogs, not now, later. I got international diplomats. I got a fucking reindeer flying in here from the fucking petting zoo. But John McClane, he's got a little problem. Hell, let's shut down the whole fucking airport. Now, what do you think they're gonna say upstairs when I tell them that?
Roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles, and warm woolen mittens.
Welcome back to Blood and Black Rum Podcast Festivus Series, where we're covering your favorite Christmas films all December long. You can expect to hear episodes on The Santa Claus, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, and more. So tune in for all of your favorites.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from Cultsploitation.com, and I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're back right before the holiday that's coming, Christmas, right around the corner. And unfortunately, we did miss an episode last week due to some inclement weather and bad stuff happening around our area. It was pretty shitty that week. Pretty much snow all the time. Normally when we podcast, it's on Wednesdays. We did get a big snowstorm on Tuesday into Wednesday, and it wasn't great conditions, so we decided to hold off on the episode and push back a week. So here we are. And then we had announced that we were going to do Die Hard 2, so that's what we're doing. We're not going to skip out on that, even though we missed a week of the Festivus Series.
Continue the tradition for the last year.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, too, because last year we did Die Hard, and Die Hard 2 really goes right along with Die Hard. You can't skip a year and then come back, because at least now it's kind of fresh in our memories, too, of watching Die Hard, and then comparing it to Die Hard 2.
Harder.
Yeah, which is not... There's not a lot of differences between the two of them, besides a setting difference, and the filmmakers kind of learning what worked and what didn't with the first Die Hard, and then trying to double down on that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the film in detail. But I will start off by saying that I've never seen Die Hard 2. So I've seen Die Hard 1 quite a few times, but Die Hard 2 was one that I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it was one of those movies that I just never really ventured out to see. Maybe possibly because, I don't know, is this played as much on TV?
Yeah.
It is? Die Hard 2 is?
More than Die Hard.
I don't know.
Die Hard 2 and Die Hard 3. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Played a lot more than
probably easier to get to rights to them, for one thing.
I'm pretty sure ACM and TBS used to play them all the time.
Yeah, I don't know why this one...
Especially during, like, Christmas time. You would, get Die Hard 2 and Die Hard 3. Not a Christmas movie, Die Hard 3, but you get Die Hard 2 and Die Hard 3.
Well, they just wanted it to go back to back,
well, it's kind of like how these, TV does it, and movies are guilty of it, too. Because I saw at Walmart the other day, they had a 3-pack DVD for, $10. You got Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. Mad Max 3, Beyond Thunderdome. And then Mad Max 4, Fury Road.
Well, that's based on a rights issue. It's when they can't pair...
I know, but it's stupid, so just do 2 and 3. I mean,
yeah.
Fury Road's so good, you buy the good copy of it. You don't buy the bundled copy.
Yeah,
I mean, all the Mad Max films deserve to be bought on good, Criterion level collection DVD and Blu-ray, but I'm just saying, that just annoys me, because it's like, come on, just put the first one in there.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's due to a rights issue, especially for Die Hard and Die Hard 2 and 3. It's probably Die Hard 2 and 3 are just owned by the same people, so they were able to easily get the rights for it. And I don't know why I had skipped out on Die Hard 2. I've seen Die Hard and Die Hard 3, but 2 just kind of a outlier there.
Well, Die Hard 4, Live Free or Die Hard was played a billion times on FX's DVD,
yeah.
thing. How they did the whole
movie, yeah, movies on DVD,
and
sort of.
They had the hosts and oh, here's some extra things you can get on the DVD.
There's a ton of things that you really needed to know about Die Hard 4.
Like how they always played the X-Men, X-Men 2 and X-Men 3 on FX, that on that program. Same thing with Die Hard 4. They played all the fucking time on.
Never seen that one either.
Well, you're lucky.
I mean, at that point, it wasn't an issue of like just missing out on it. It was like I'm actively avoiding this.
You
one.
get a Kevin Smith cameo.
Yeah.
Well, I was actively avoiding it too because by the time that one came out, I'm like, no, you missed the boat. You missed the boat. It's been too damn long. Don't bother.
So if it were up to me, and I know Die Hard 3 and the rest of them are not set around Christmas time, I would have just kept it around Christmas time. Because as we see in Die Hard 2, apparently this just happens to Bruce Willis every single Christmas.
Well, they say that too in Die Hard 1.
Right.
They're like, oh, why can't we have a normal Christmas? Why does this always happen to us? And because I remember when we were watching, it's like, so what happened in the previous Christmases?
Yeah.
And so like next year, like, oh, okay, this time it's terrorists at an airport. You're like, why does this happen to us? It's like, again, I want to hear you exposit on what the fuck has happened in the previous Christmases
I would
that you've
say
been
that
married.
John's exaggerating, and the last Christmas was just like the tree fell over on Grandpa, and he's like exaggerating. He's like, that was the issue last year. Why can't we have a normal Christmas?
Not only that, this is his own damn fault. He doesn't have to go trolloping around through Nakatomi Plaza and the DC airport trying to stop terrorists. You're an off-duty cop. Leave it to them.
Well,
sure, they're bumbling idiots in this, but you're like, hey, do your job,
I would say that, I want to talk about this a little bit more as we get into the film, but I believe that John McClane in this film is more bad than good. Like, he is actually hurting the scenario more than he's helping. And we'll talk about that.
He's unlikable.
Well,
at least I think.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about that when we get in. I don't want to get so far into
I'm just saying my opinion right now. I think he's unlikable.
Yeah. I mean, in this film or in all of them?
He's kind of unlikable in Die Hard 1.
I mean,
not so much to where you're not rooting for him. But
Yeah.
I mean, he is a little unlikable. I think like with the first one, Hans Gruber, like I'm more empathetic to poor Hans Gruber, the eco-terrorist, because like at least he's like, okay, I'm doing my thing, but and also Bruce Willis. I mean, I think with him as an actor overall, not just in this franchise, but him in his entire body of work, you either like his charisma or you don't. And I'm one that tends to. I don't find him to be someone that I enjoy as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too that at least in the first one, you have the you don't really know his character, so you're getting to know him. And even though, he seems like a smarmy asshole in that one too, but at the same time, he is in a building full of terrorists, and he's trying to stop terrorists from killing his wife. So that makes a little bit more sense. Like, you kind of have some leeway there. But now in Die Hard 2, when he comes in and it's really not his jurisdiction, he really doesn't have
it wasn't even his jurisdiction in L.A.
It's true.
Because he was in L.A., but he's a cop from New York.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't have any there. But I think even more so in here, he's just like a random citizen in a Washington, D.C. airport at Dulles. And I think more so now, you kind of see like, he's just inserting himself in these situations. He's not even it's not even organic at this point. It's not like it actually happened to him.
No, it's very forcing the issue.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's super cop, so he knows those guys carrying those packages must be up to trouble.
It would be really funny if at the beginning of this film, before all of the whole plot even started, John McClane was on high alert following people, and it just happened to be like a mail carrier carrying a package to the back of this, and they're like, "Sir, you need to leave this area. This is a confidential area. You can't be back here." It's like, "Oh, sorry. I saw a package. I thought it was a terrorist."
You know what I love about movies like this too is the fact that, and I know this applies to some people, but not a lot of people were like, "My wife lives in Los Angeles. I live in New York. Her family lives in Washington, D.C. Like, how the fuck did your family migrate like that? I know it happens, but it's not like that common. Most people kind of, stick pretty close. Like, maybe one goes off, but you don't have my parents live in Nebraska, yours live in D.C., our kids are staying back down in, Texas for whatever reason, because they got a boarding school.
Well, I think this was a nice, I would say that this was a storytelling choice. In that we did LA, there's no snow in LA for Christmas.
So they're doing DC.
So they do DC
and have his in-laws be living in DC.
And it also makes sense. Dulles Airport's pretty busy. I don't know.
Why not do like LaGuardia?
Yeah, they could have. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
O'Hare. Oh yeah, make it be like. Well, Home Alone's gonna do that in like a year or two.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I guess don't bother. After that movie, don't bother.
But I see the appeal of doing DC because, as we'll talk about, Die Hard 2 is like Die Hard, but add more Christmas to it.
And Fox.
So it's kind of interesting too how people argue, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Because Die Hard 2 is probably more of a Christmas movie.
It's definitely a Christmas movie.
I would say that if you're really not sure about Die Hard, then Die Hard 2, Die Harder is definitely a Christmas movie.
I think what would have been appropriate for this, not just because I love the song, it's my favorite Christmas song of all time, but I think when they have like the plane flybys going on, they should just have the Heartbreakers Christmas all over.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, no, just like and have it at the end, just because they're like, oh, here we go again, another McClane Christmas gone to shit.
Yep.
Just be like, there you go,
Well, Home Alone 2 did that.
I know.
They followed your guidelines.
I think the song came out in '92. That's why.
But it also made sense for the movie.
Well, no, I'm saying
because they're literally saying it's Christmas all over again. They're doing
the song that would personify this the most would be Curb Your Enthusiasm theme, just like bum bum. Like, oh, here we go again. But you gotta wait 15 years for that.
Do you think that the '90s was like the epitome of taking the first film and then just basically redoing it again?
Mm-hmm.
It's like because
hit the same beats.
We're talking about Home Alone as well as Die Hard, and just like Die Hard 2, Home Alone 2 is the exact same premise except just change up the setting.
Well, that's why I told you to watch the Super Deluxe video. They literally break down like every Home Alone, like it's like a 3-minute video. It's like Home Alone 1. Kid gets left at home, has the time of his life. Bad guy show. Like it's like literally this, same beats for each film. And it's not, you're right, it's not just Home Alone. It's the same with Die Hard. What is it? Die Hard 2. It's the same fucking movie, except like, let's ratchet it up a little bit. Yeah. What's Speed 2? We're going to put it on a fucking boat this time, not a bus.
Yeah. And it was the epitome of just like recycling the ideas.
Escape from LA. Do the same thing, except parody.
And a lot of horror movies did the same thing too. It was like, take the sequel, put it in a different place. We'll do the same thing though.
This movie made more money though than Die Hard 1, so...
And I could see why. First of all, you have the word of mouth of Die Hard. So people are like, Die Hard was pretty cool. It was a fun movie. So then you have other people that are like itching to see Die Hard 2. And then, again, you have what you called ratcheting up the ideas. There's more Christmas, there's more action, there's a little bit more violence. And so that makes sense. That makes, like, why it would do a little bit better is, just more of the same. People liked it.
I think Die Hard 1 was it was kind of like the little engine that could.
Yeah.
It's not like a lot of action movies back in the 80s especially were being made on like big budgets or mainly low budgets and like, all right, let's like horror film. That's what most action films, especially back, in earlier like the 80s and even in the 90s, a lot of action films were made on shit budgets like a horror film. Cause it's like, hey, look, they're, people are just going to want to come and watch, shit blow up.
And clearly, Die Hard 2 was made with a much bigger budget.
Yeah,
I mean, just getting this setting itself is budgeting in its own right because, I mean, you're using like airplanes and real life settings in order to film this movie. So that right there is going to blow some of your budget. So it's interesting. Yeah, it does ratchet it up, and then also, you get a much bigger cast.
It's huge.
At the time, maybe not as huge as it seems now, but there were still some really big names, like Bill Sadler would still have been a fairly big name. At that time, he was pretty much blossoming.
Same thing with Robert Patrick.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, he was really breaking into his own.
I know, but
too.
Like, you can tell, like, and you'll be forever tight. Same thing with, like, Dennis Franz.
Yeah. Really coming into his own there.
It's like you will for now be forever typecast because after this he plays in NYPD, stars in NYPD Blue. Before this, he was also in a couple of cop shows in the 80s too.
Yeah.
So
and then you have Reginald VelJohnson, who
gets fourth billing and he's in one scene. Oh, you love it when movies.
Thank you, Family Matters. But this one has a bigger cast of names that like just seem to be like they pop out to you. Even the Coming to America crew.
Yeah, John Amos.
Yeah,
is in this. Slim down. He looks pretty slim in this compared to, because he's kind of
Portly
in Coming to America, and he actually looks pretty good in this. Also, drawing a blank. So
yeah,
as Ryan's pulling it up.
I'm pulling it up right now because he's got a weird name. Vondi Curtis Hall.
Also that I know from Coming to America. He has a small bit role, but I remember it. He plays in Coming to America at least, he plays the concession person at the Garden at the Knicks game that runs into Eddie Murphy's character that, knows who he is and freaks out. It's great seeing that movie.
So, I mean, again, all of those things added up do make sense.
Franco Nero?
Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention him because he's kind of buried in the credits, actually. Despite being the main...
No, he gets...
it's like right at fifth.
Yeah, but he's right after Reginald VelJohnson.
Still. Really? Like, William Atherton getting higher credits than Franco Nero?
Well, because he's in the first one.
Yeah, but still.
But even still, no, you're right. Because why is he... Why... That whole point... And we'll talk about when we actually review the movie, I think. But, why is he here?
Right.
Why was him being on the plane with Mrs. McClane, Holly McClane, a thing?
I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Padding.
All right. Let's get into our beer talk first, and because we got some winter Christmassy beers on today. And
not Old Festival.
Yeah, and then we'll get into the movie itself. So, what we're drinking today is the part of the Sierra Nevada holiday pack, which I'm kind of surprised that they put out a Sierra Nevada holiday pack because I thought that the Celebration Ale was their holiday beer. And apparently it is not. I don't know how many brews Sierra Nevada has up their sleeve, but apparently they're kicking out 6 or 7 different IPAs a season rather than 1 or 2.
I think they got a new brewery down the Carolinas or something.
Oh yeah, they do. They have one in Chico, California, and then one in something like that.
Yeah, I think it's in the Carolinas. They got one now, so it might be why. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them do a holiday pack before, but I never really gotten it because it's it's all our IPAs, and I'm I don't want one during the winter.
Yeah, I mean, I was just surprised to see that they had Celebration Ale out, which I guess maybe they're considering is more of a Thanksgiving beer.
No, because it's got a wintry, snowy log cabin on it.
So that's still part of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that screams Christmas to me. And they've been doing that forever too, because it's one of the first Sierra Nevada beers I got. But what I remember the Celebration Ale being was not an IPA when I first tried it 7 years ago. I think it was something I can't remember exactly what style of beer it was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't an IPA. And I think maybe recently they changed it. Or maybe I'm misremembering things. I don't know, but I always remember when I first tried it. It wasn't an IPA. It was
something else.
Just a general winter style.
What I think you're thinking of now is what they have in their new pack, which is the Wintertide Ale. I
mean, it wasn't a wheat beer. It's more like a red or brown ale, mix. But
yeah,
I remember it's kind of I remember Saranac's Big Moose Ale, which I think we talked about a couple episodes ago. I remember trying that a long time ago. When I first, was old enough to drink it, it was one of the first winter beers I tried too, and it was a really good pale ale. But now it's IPA. It's an IPA now, and they kind of tweaked it to make it more like an IPA, and it's kind of disheartening because I like the fact that it was a pale ale.
Yeah,
it's kind of a rare find these days.
Well, one of the good things about the winter pack is that they do kind of branch out a little bit. They're not doing just all pale ales or IPAs in this one. Obviously, you still get your Sierra Nevada pale ale. That's the staple beer. That's always going to be. They're not going to take it out of the packs, so just get used to it.
Kind of like with Sam's Rebel or Boston Lager.
Yeah, but the other thing that they do, they're trying a couple different things here. One of them is a coffee stout, which we had previously at one of the beer fests that we'd gone to, but I kind of forgot about it because I think I only had it really quick. But I think it's actually a pretty good beer.
I like it.
I think, for a company that doesn't really do stouts that often, I think they did a pretty good job.
Their stout and porter is part of their standard lineup.
Yeah.
Not much I would write home, though, about both of them, just because I don't think that's their wheelhouse.
Right.
It's kind of like when Ommegang branches out from Belgian-style beers into something kind of different. Their IPA, the Nirvana IPA is okay, but I wouldn't, go go out of my way to get it because it's not something that they really specialize in. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like the same thing with Sierra Nevada, the stout and porter that I've had, and I haven't had it in quite a while. But from what I remember, I was thinking like, yeah, they're there. Never would really get them again. But I do like the coffee stout quite a bit. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a cold brew coffee stout. So emphasis on the cold brew, and that does come out. I think that the dark roasted coffee notes come out quite a bit in that. And I thought it was a good, solid stout. I think I probably had better coffee stouts, but I think that the coffee flavor itself lends a lot to that beer.
I agree. I wouldn't be able to tell you, though, that like it's specifically cold brew. It's not...
I don't know, it kind of has that...
I don't think it's like as... I mean, I'm not the biggest connoisseur, like, can tell you the difference between, like, coffee blends. I just drink it because I like coffee, but I mean...
It has that steeped quality to it that you can
I get
taste.
that more though with like Saranax cold brew coffee lager.
No, yeah, I agree.
I mean, to me, like this just tastes like it's just like a coffee stout. It's just like they took like added more coffee notes and flavor to the stout.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't say that this is probably the best coffee stout that I've had, but I think it's pretty good.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. Like I said, I'm just saying though, like I said, I'm not a big coffee connoisseur, but like when I'm drinking the Saranac cold brew lager, I can tell like, yeah, they're going for a cold brew coffee taste.
Yeah.
But with this, I wouldn't be able to tell you that from the coffee stout. Like, yeah, it tastes like a coffee stout. It's good, but I mean, I wouldn't be like, it's like, oh, it's, as it says in the bottle, it's cold brew. I'm like, I couldn't, like, I don't notice that.
Not sure.
Yeah.
The other one that they have in there is the, what they call a Wintertide Ale, which is, I love when they describe things like this, ale brewed with spices. So basically,
very specific.
Yeah, I mean, basically it's a winter warmer style beer. It's at 6%, so it's not super heavy. It's not one of those winter warmers that's going to like really keep you literally warm. But it is one of the, like, it's in that style. So it's caramely, malty, particularly heavy on like some of the holiday spices, coriander, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, things like that. I think it comes out okay, but I wouldn't say that this is my favorite winter warmer beer. I think that maybe I think I might have actually a little bit too much of the spice flavor to it, and so I think it's okay. But like I said, it's not something that Sierra Nevada would really do very often. So I think it's a quality beer from that kind of standpoint, but definitely had better winter warmer beers. Except the ones that incorporate raisins. Don't do that.
And dry fruit.
Yeah, don't do that. And then you have the Holiday Haze IPA.
I had.
You had.
It has ceased to be. It is no more. It's Dead Soldier.
What'd you think about that one?
It's okay. I think it's pretty good. I do like that it's more kind of citrus fruit forward in its taste.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, especially like grapefruit. And like tangerine.
And it definitely has a different hop in it. I don't know if it's I'm not sure exactly which hop it is, but you definitely on the taste you get a little bit of a different hop flavor.
But I do think it's I do like the fact that it's a little bit more fruitier than piney. It's definitely as it says on the bottle, fruit forward, and to me it's mainly like a tangerine, grapefruit, clementine, like fruitiness, and then still got that traditional West Coast IPA taste to it, but it's mild by compared to like their normal IPA.
I gotta say I like this tradition of doing winter style IPAs.
Well, the perfect one's a white IPA.
I mean, but I think like the winter style ones are just a little bit heartier.
Fruitier.
Yeah, a little fruitier, especially on the orange side, because winter, though we don't really tend to think about it, is have a big time for oranges, because when they're coming from the other side of the world, we're getting them in their peak season. So clementines, blood oranges, all of those, pomegranates, all of those citrus flavors, they're really in season in our winter. So it makes sense to incorporate those into a beer to have a more citrusy flavor to it and call it a winter IPA, even though we would tend to think of citrusy stuff during the summer.
I mean, I agree because like lemon and lime, I would like as a citrus.
That
count as like a summer citrus, but like you're right. Like I think orange is like kind of an all season. I mean, I do associate it more though with like a winter, but I think it does fit all season. You know what? Actually, I think about it would be like a good like a mix, like hybrid for an IPA. It'd be like an orange cranberry, like something like involving cranberry, maybe.
Yeah,
because it's bitter.
Yeah,
it would fit. With the profile, like a.
Yeah, I think cranberry would be good. Doing some sort of, and then grapefruit too is very big in the winter. So that would be a
lot of people are doing, grapefruit style IPAs now.
So, I mean, it makes sense to have that. And I do like that they're just a little bit heavier. They tend to have a slightly higher alcohol percentage than, a normal IPA would. And like I said, I just went to World of Beer last night and I had the Trogs Blizzard of Hops Winter IPA.
I'm still disappointed you didn't get a pretzel.
I wasn't hungry. I just had
you don't have
an entire meal at Ruby Tuesday.
And you didn't shit yourself? That's amazing.
I did not.
Because that's all that does. Just make you shit. Make you poop.
Any other beer talk that you got?
No.
I think that's it. I think other than that, I haven't really had much else.
Miller Lite.
The beer of choice, Miller Lite. All right.
Light on calories, but not light on flavor.
There you go.
Sponsor us.
That's what I need. I need something that's light on calories. It's winter.
Are you going to get a nice Heineken Magnum bottle for Christmas?
I think they're pretty cool. I would like to get one and just see how it tastes.
I'll bring one.
And maybe that'll make up for you because you don't really like when the Heineken keg has that tinny taste to it. So maybe in the champagne bottle will be particularly excellent.
Joke's on you. It's actually a tin bottle.
Yeah. And you got to put it in a flute glass too. Like a champagne flute glass, or else the bubbles will evaporate.
I don't get it. Like, what's the point of putting it? It's so stupid.
What, putting champagne in a flute glass?
No, Heineken in a champagne style.
Champagne. I don't know.
It's just a marketing idea.
Classy.
Like, oh, Merry Christmas. Oh, you don't like champagne? Have some Heineken instead.
I don't. I would say that's probably the only reason. It's just like why people buy, like the sparkling fruit beverages that are, it's not champagne, but it's like, sparkling grape juice. It's like, why? Well, because so the kids can drink it. They'll feel good on New Year's Eve thinking they're drinking champagne. I don't know. Pop them back, kids.
I don't think on New Year's we're cracking open a bottle of champagne.
I think we're having, apparently, my parents got a bottle of champagne for Christmas morning. We're having mimosas this year.
Oh, I guess I'll have to get up.
Fancy in the Barber household.
Great, thanks. And now I'm going to have to get up early for that.
Yeah, come on over. Have a mimosa.
I've only had one once.
At my,
after wedding.
Yeah. After wedding brunch.
I mean, because I'm not...
You're not a champagne drinker, so...
No, I mean, no. Not, but I also wouldn't think to, let's combine it with orange juice.
It's delicious.
I rather do a screwdriver.
It's the perfect brunch beverage.
Yeah, screwdriver. There you go.
Well, screwdrivers are good too. I would say...
you know what? Make me a Christmas Moscow Mule.
So that's very easy. Cranberries. I can do it right now.
Well, that's what I told you, and you didn't do it.
I'll make you one right now.
Okay.
We'll pause the podcast, and we're going to have one. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We've got our Moscow Mules. It's cranberry orange. I made them specifically for it. And we're talking Die Hard 2.
Die Harder.
I always leave that off because I don't even know if that's an official...
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No,
it's just kind of
on the opening credits, when the title card, it just says Die Hard 2.
Yeah, Die Harder, not an official subtitle.
I think it is, though, because especially after what they would do with the rest of the movies. Die Hard 3 is not Die Hard 3, it's Die Hard with Vengeance. Then it's Live Free or Die Hard, and then, a good day to die hard.
They've officially accepted it as canon, that it's Die Hard 2, Die Harder. Which, I think is probably a good summarization of this film. It is just Die Harder. And let's start out by talking about the plot itself. Because I do think that the plot of Die Hard 2 is an interesting idea. of an entire airport that's kind of taken under by terrorists, and then they're controlling everything from the outskirts of that airport. It's a smart idea. I think that coming up with that scenario is probably the most difficult part of writing Die Hard 2, because it's complicated. For the time, it would have been technically proficient, I would say. And as we see in the film, not very many people understand technology at that point, because John McClane's just getting around to faxing. He's got a beeper, and they've got a fax machine.
They got to get all that in. They have airline phones and cell phones. They got to get all that in there, because it's the 90s now.
The film is very much focused on just like 90s tech.
Not only that, I find it weird too, because he's like, it's the 90s now, I got to get with it. And it's like, when I think of Die Hard, it doesn't scream to me to be like an 80s film. Like, he's just a man trapped in, the old ways. Hey, I don't really,
Yeah, you mean John McClane, as like a guy who's just like, I'm not adapting.
I mean, this film, he definitely,
I mean, just
comes
think about it,
across
because
like that,
the man is a cop. He probably has to do a lot of paperwork. Cops have to do paperwork. So
not John McClane.
The man has never like copied, scanned, or faxed in his life. Seems like he's not really a cop. He just keeps saying it to everybody.
He found a badge on a dead officer, and now he's just running around masquerading as a cop. Like, I'm a cop.
And then everybody accepted it as fact because he did save people in Nakatomi Plaza. So they're like, oh, I guess this guy really is a cop. Everybody's like, I don't have him on payroll. I don't know who this guy is. No, but I think that for the most part, the idea of the story does have a lot of legs to it. It's interesting.
A little over convoluted.
It is it is convoluted in the way, and when you do stop to think about like how this all was set up, where you have a separate military operation that's also in on it that gets called in. You've got this operation taking place where they were able to hijack all of the equipment needed to shut down the airport itself, but reroute that technology to a church that's sitting on the side of the airport. All of that, when you stop and think about it, is really far-fetched. Like, how would that ever really happen? However, I think it's still a smart idea, especially for 1990. I mean, and like you said, it is convoluted. For the layman person, and I love that at the beginning of the film when everybody's throwing around things like, they've shut down the INSAC equipment, and they shut down the MyCast. And just like, we don't know what the fuck you're saying, and it's probably not real, but I'll take your word for it. And I think that's kind of what you have to do with Die Hard 2, is you have to really...
Technobabble, like, just...
Yeah, you just have to really kind of go with it and be like, okay, the terrorists are really good at routing cable.
I will say, too, man, when I hear, like, in this film and, like, Die Hard 1, like, terrorists, like I don't even remember them, like, ever hearing that word until 2001.
Well, apparently it was used previously. I mean...
I know it obviously was.
Obviously, and I mean, in 1990, you would have been 1 year old. So.
No, but I know, I was saying, like, even, like, just remember, like something I never even, like, remember, like, hearing until after 9/11. Now it's, like, it's just in the fucking, terrors everywhere. I blame these films.
Yeah. Putting bad thoughts in the bad guys' heads.
Yeah, maybe we should hijack, an airport and leave 20 planes to be, just dithering about in the sky,
That's the other thing I do like about the film, though, is that just for, like, hours and hours, there are planes just flying around Washington, D.C., just sitting in the air, and people on them just looking at their watch going like, I should have been there now. And they're just like, what's going on?
Well, they're probably like, man, at least I don't have to deal with the shit, the shithole that airport will be, crammed.
Yeah,
and
like,
lost luggage.
I'd rather sit up here and watch The Simpsons. I like that idea too of having all of these aircraft just sitting up in the air, because it does add some tension to it. Because that's what we're looking for with John McClane. Because otherwise, without some tension to give John McClane a reason to even be caring about this situation unfolding, then you don't really have a story.
You wouldn't have any stakes.
I mean, in this case, I think it's a stretch for one thing to just have now John McClane's wife is on a plane that's idling in the air. However, I mean, it does give it some tension because now we have a time frame. Like those planes can't sit up there forever. They've got gas that's burning and they've got to get them down. So that makes sense. However, there is one scene that you see where the bad guys, the terrorists, Bill Sadler's crew, have a timer in the church that they're sitting in, and it's like at one time it's like 45 hours, and then like when they check back in, it's like 91 hours. It's like, what? Like 46 hours have passed? I don't know.
Like that, you'd think like somebody like if they got a hold of the army to come in, which obviously it was John Amos's crew, but like they wouldn't think like, hey, maybe we should get planes up there that carry fuel to like maybe refuel some of these.
Yeah. That's another. I think that's something that really stretches the imagination because we see like these helicopters bringing all the military crew in, John Amos's crew, and it's like, well, the helicopters couldn't have like sat up there and like tried to guide them in or something. If this was truly an emergency, and you're like, we got to get these planes down, they don't have any gas. Rather than relying on like poor communications. Maybe get a helicopter up there and it's like, we're going to try to guide you down. You got 800 feet to sea level. Your stuff's not working. Your altitude meters aren't working. The whole thing seems kind of fishy in that sense because like helicopters can easily land, but planes are AWOL up there. I don't know.
I think it's a little more complicated.
Well, yeah, no.
I know, but I understand
yeah.
your logic behind it, but I think, trying to land a plane,
Well, yeah, because the helicopter's not really got a heavy descent.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just like touching down. And so, yeah, you're right. In that sense, a helicopter can easily fly through the snow and land well, whereas the plane has to obviously come down at an angle and take off its speed at a...
And worry about, spontaneously combusting on impact,
Yeah. Yeah, so that, I mean, I do understand that, but I still think that they didn't really take any, precautions that they could have in order to successfully land a plane without having to just rely on, like, well, hope you can see the runway, give it a go. But I think, like, the idea of the whole film is interesting and entertaining, and I always think that like if this wasn't part of Die Hard and it was just kind of a different film, not part of the series, it may have even been more effective. Rather than having John McClane in this again, just a random guy, or maybe part of a task force or something like that, it might have been more effective because I think John McClane actually weighs this film down a little bit, trying to shoehorn Bruce Willis in here as the comical, cop who really doesn't have much jurisdiction in this area and shouldn't probably be allowed in any of these places because what if he was part of the terrorist crew? Like saying like, well, I'm going to do something about this and just causing more havoc.
Well, obviously, we're dealing with, the DC cops who are incompetent, so they wouldn't, think of, any of that, because he's got to like remind them like, you should be closing the area off. What are you doing? You're not following protocol. Hey, there was a crime here. Shut the area. Hey, why is Alec remark? Hey,
Yeah, I do think I think Bruce Willis actually weighs this film down, not only because of his presence, but also because of the writing.
He's an asshole.
Because I think at least in Die Hard, when John McClane comes in and he's kind of an asshole, like, it's okay because there's no real other, like, force there that's helping him out. So he's, like, kind of the one-man show in Nakatomi Plaza. Whereas in this case, he's, like, butting heads with every single authority figure in there. And it's like, buddy, you don't even work here.
I know,
what the fuck are you doing?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, yeah, his wife's on the plane, but, like, because he's got to be a smart ass to everyone. Like, he's trying to tell when he first gets his, super cop hunch, like, these guys carrying packages,
They probably are
terrorists. I'm going to tell these two cops sitting down, like, hey, you need to check him out. Oh, wait, it's the guy that, had my card toe. So instead of, trying to tell him I'm going to be a smart ass, it was Elvis. I saw Elvis.
Right. Like, again, he's like running interference on himself. Because now he's got to be the guy that saves everybody. and he's not like I guess Dennis Franz, his character is made to look like a buffoon, but he's really not. He's actually, I don't think he's doing a bad job, and he's being misled at every turn because obviously John Amos's character is in on the plot, so he's trying to mislead him. So I think the film makes Dennis Franz's character look worse than he really is, and then you have John McClane just being a complete asshole to him at all times, like, you're not doing this right. This is not how I would do it if I was running this.
I know, I'm surprised, like, well, how come you're not captain yet, John? Mr. Super Cop? Why? I'm a captain. What the fuck are you? Oh, you're still a detective? Sit your ass down, you know.
And one of my favorite parts, too, is that John McClane just flashes a badge and everybody's like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, at that point in time, you're a cop, okay. You run wherever you want to. Do whatever you want. It's fine. Yeah. Steal this bag. I don't care. Take my car. Take this snowmobile that you just found.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. It's yours for the taking.
Yeah, but I think in this film, John McClane does more bad than good. Because if you think about the situation, really all they want to do, the terrorists are really just looking to get Franco Nero's character, which I forget his name, but I think
General Esperanza.
Yeah, General Esperanza. They want to get him from his plane into another plane and then get him to a country where they can't extradite him. That's all they want. That's the whole scenario.
Because they hate commies.
Yeah.
So they're, paired up. This American military force that's gone rogue is paired up with, former dictator and cocaine, overlord. Because they hate commies. It's how you know it's like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
What do we hate? Commies.
And then you have the audience conflicted, like, well, I do too.
I hate commies.
Do I root for these guys or not? But I think like John McClane, now he steps in, right? And you have this scenario that's pretty much, if they don't do anything, things will be okay. Just let the plane land. Just let Esperanza get on the other plane. Don't risk, what is it? Probably like 1,500 lives in the mix. Because you got planes in the air that are going to run out of fuel. You got people in the airports. Instead of just letting this all happen, like, all right, shoot, we missed out on, like, getting a dictator. He got to a country where we can't extradite him. Now they're putting, like, many, many people's lives at risk in order to stop this one thing from happening. And it doesn't really make sense to me because even, like, because if they have let this play out, it would significantly be less time wasted than them actually trying to do things. Because that's a big part of this film is the time wasted because the planes are in the air and they're burning gas. And so if you're like, don't waste time. Just let them do what they got to do and land the planes. That would be probably like my first thought. But nope, John McClane gotta save everybody. And I think he's actually a detriment.
Yeah, he gets poor transporter room Miles O'Brien killed, and his plane.
Yeah, that he does. He's basically the reason why one plane crashes because he interferes, and now they have to pay a consequence. And I love it. He's upset with that for like 5 minutes of crying, rolling around on the ground. So upset that he lost the plane, and then he's back at it, and it's like he forgot all about it. And then actually the film entirely forgets about that plane crash.
No one cares.
Happened. No one cares. It's like, oh man. For a little while they do.
Yeah, well, because it's the British, so who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, I care because they got poor Miles O'Brien killed, but Yeah,
but other than that, like after that plane crash occurs, you don't hear about it. You don't see the wreckage, really.
Just collateral.
Yeah, just like whatever. I mean, it happened. Sorry, but and then
you know what I love too is like anytime like these like certain little twists happen, you have to have Bruce Willis like exposit like I knew all along that was gonna happen. This was a trap, and they were gonna do this. And it's like, well, Bruce, you expedited it. You sped it up.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Right, yeah. If you knew it was a trap, maybe just don't do anything.
I know.
And just
like,
let
if you
it
know
occur.
that SWAT team's walking into a trap, be like, hey, don't go up there. And if they're like, fuck you. And they're like, all right, fine,
I tried. Yeah.
You're only going to make things worse. Especially because you're going guns a-blazing, just,
Yeah, because everything else, like the chief plane, airport guide or whatever, I don't know what they're called, but traffic controller, he's just
Played
like
by Fred Thompson.
Yeah, he's just like letting it go. You know what I mean? He's playing ball. He's just doing what they're asking.
Because he doesn't want anyone killed, so he knows, like, look, until we got something that we can actually do.
Yeah.
And
then John McClane is like this rogue vigilante agent who's coming in and like making things worse all the time.
But that's what America loves.
I guess.
As well as when we review Death Wish, is that we all know, did Bronson make things really better in Death Wish? No, but we love someone who's like, the hell with the rules, you know. That's what,
I mean, that's
all you have to do is look on Facebook when people are like, oh, that person got off, fuck him, kill him,
I think that's the difference, too, with Die Hard and Die Hard 2, is that at least in Die Hard it makes sense for him to be doing these things. He's actually doing something. In Die Hard 2, he's like literally making things worse. Every step he takes.
You just need a womp, womp, womp,
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I think, what's funny too is that like a solution that should have been pretty easy for them to figure out is that they just put a crew on the plane. They put a crew on the plane.
Set an ambush.
Put an ambush in there, and then just assassinate everybody that comes on. It's that simple. And yet they don't. That should have been the like if they really had to stop Esperanza from getting to a country where they can't extradite him. And let's face it, I would think many people's lives are more important than...
I think the U.S. is taking their war on cocaine a little too far. If they're, a dictator, like, well, we're going to bring him in, and try him. Why?
Yeah, and the funny thing, too, is that at the end of the film, they don't have that opportunity because John McClane blows him up. So the whole thing was for naught. They could have just shot him out of the air in the airplane and be done with the whole thing. But, so again, John McClane fucks things up again because they can't even try him for whatever, they've got him on. They can't try this guy. He's dead. He's a burning wreck of skeleton and metal. So I think that, I think Die Hard 2 really messes that up because John McClane is not really a likable figure in this. He's more of like, you got to tolerate him. And even the writing for...
He's like your drunk uncle.
Yeah, the writing is not as good in this one. Like you said, there's a lot of exposition here where he's just like talking to himself. And at that point, you have to wonder, like, is this man just fucking crazy? Is he just crazy?
Well, because in the original, it's him talking to Reginald VelJohnson, when like, what's going on there, cowboy? Like, man, a lot of bad things are happening. They ain't listening to me. Like, well, I'm listening to you. But they only got Reginald for that one scene, so he's just got to prattle on to himself instead.
Yeah, he's just talking to himself.
But I mean, at the same time, like that's something I didn't like in the first film either, and it's not to the detriment of Reginald VelJohnson. I just didn't like the fact that when they were interacting and talking, it's very stereotypical noir-y bullshit dialogue what's going on there? Well, a lot of bad things are happening, man. Trying to do things that sounds like a bad post-game conference when you're talking like a quarterback after. Like, what the hell happened out there? You threw 3 interceptions, got sacked. What happened out there in that loss? Like, well, we tried to do things and try to make things better. And while we tried to do those things and getting better, we couldn't do the things that we wanted to do, so we couldn't do better and we can't win. And that's why we got to go out there next time and do things. It's like you're talking in circles. You're saying nothing. You're using all these words and all this dialogue, wasting all this time to say nothing. It's a rigmarole. It's a runaround. You're wasting my time. This movie is 30 minutes too long.
Yeah, exactly. This movie is
because of that. It's
2 hours long and it's really unnecessary.
This movie feels like a slog.
Yeah. I agree.
Absolute slog.
I mean, we talked about it in the intro a little bit, but part of it is because of just all the unnecessary things that it adds into the film. One of them being John McClane and the janitor. Like, why is John McClane so direction? He can't figure out directions.
Well, because it's 1990. He doesn't have a GPS on his iPhone to tell him where he is in the building to.
Yeah, but I mean building, and then he just needs to find
a radio tower.
How
hard would it? Yeah, no, you're
right.
Look
out on the. Do you see it out on the field? I mean, I guess airports are bigger, so maybe it's on the opposite end of the airport. But it's just kind of funny. But the film wastes so much time on this John McClane janitor relationship. It's totally unnecessary. And then the other thing which you mentioned in the intro, is the whole plane ride with John's wife, Holly, and Thornburg, the reporter from the first film.
Fucking total waste.
Yeah.
Like 20 minutes of film wasted.
It's absolutely, it doesn't even really make a difference. It doesn't make sense.
It's literally there, I think, just to pad out Holly McClane's time in this film.
I think I agree, because other than that, like, what is she actually going to do? She's just riding in a plane. If you didn't, but again, though, I think that it would have been more effective if they just cut out Thornburg altogether and just had multiple scenes of Holly, like, starting to panic. You know, like, she's on the plane now and it's been 2 hours of circling.
But she's not even panicking. She's just, you know, like, John's probably down there, you know.
Yeah, I wonder if she's
murdering people.
Thinking, like, well, there's probably terrorists and John is probably there.
There's another character in here, too, that's totally useless, and that's the one news anchor.
Oh, yeah, Sam Coleman.
Like, why is she fucking in this movie? Her point is meaningless.
The only reason she's in it is to be a shuttle for John McClane at the end of the film.
Like, she's like, oh, if you give me this story, I'll have your baby. What a lady. That's like instant boner killer for me, at least, right there. Like,
I'll have your baby.
Like, no, thank you. Ruined it.
Yeah.
No, thank you. You get no story. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I think John McClane would be more open to doing the lady at the counter that helped him send out the fax.
Well, she was, giving...
She was giving him the eye, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He whispers, he's like, thank you. And she's like, you're welcome. And he's like, oh, yeah,
as she's showing him how to fax the fingerprints to Reginald VelJohnson. Like, oh, yeah. Yeah, you get that in there. Oh, it doesn't matter which way it goes. Yeah,
just put it in there.
Just put it in there.
Yeah, but you're like, all of those things you wouldn't think like really add up to anything, but the film then becomes way overloaded with just stuff that doesn't really make a difference to the plot. All of those airplane moments, and even like Thornburg sending out like the report about the plane itself, it does nothing for the plot. Because even though
it adds no stakes, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. So again, it's a waste of time. Like, we don't need Thornburg. You don't need to have the people on the ground at the airport know that, hey, terrorists are attacking. It has no bearing on the plot because it doesn't impede McClane and the cops, tracking down the terrorist. It's just like, oh, it's there. Again, to pad out the film. Like, they felt like this has to be a 2-hour film. Yeah, but it easily could have been 90 minutes.
Yeah, this is one of those films that excels at being a quick 90-minute like escape film, and that's it. Get in, get out, you're done. That's all you need. You didn't need all of this unnecessary character development for Holly, who is really not much of a character at all besides like sassy.
She wasn't even really a character in the first film. She was just there.
Right. She's the it's what they called the woman in the refrigerator. The one who the hero always has to save. That's it. Trapped in some area, and that the hero has to save it. One thing I do think is kind of successful in Die Hard 2, though.
The shooting? Stormtrooper shooting?
No. No, not that. The how they get John McClane out of a enclosed area, because most of Die Hard takes place, literally almost all of it takes place at Nakatomi Plaza. However, in Die Hard 2, they at least get out of the airport. They get out of the airport. They're in like the town next door to the airport, so they're outside. And I think that works because sometimes when you have a setting and you just are constantly within that setting, that drags the film's pacing down a little bit.
Well, I think if this film was 90 minutes, then I think just being set in the airport would be fine. I don't think that you had to have him trolloping about to the church.
But you don't like the snowmobile chase scene?
No, because that's James Bondian at that point.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, okay, we're not doing Die Hard.
It's like a Die Another Day or something like. What's the one that does have a snowmobile? There is one that has a Pierce Brosnan movie that has a snowmobile chase in it. I'm not sure which one it is.
World's Not Enough.
Yeah, the world's not enough. Yeah,
they end up at parachuting down like the bank of the hill, into the raft. Yeah,
it's like a James Bond.
It made me think of the video game Nightfire when like the one level where you're snowmobile chasing in Nightfire.
Oh yeah, right.
With machine guns on.
Yes.
But no, it's like Bondia. It's like okay, like now we're just like, all right.
And the snowmobile explosion is ridiculous.
It's funny. Well, it's just as funny. It's just as funny as the fucking airplane explosion.
Jump over a tractor trailer and then explode. I love it. Amazing.
They went to the school of Death Wish effects, for this.
Yeah. I love the explosions. The explosions are
ridiculous.
Yeah, not good. And especially, and you got to wonder how much of this was just tongue in cheek. They just knew it was not going to be, good, but they were still doing it anyway. Like the grenade explosions in the cockpit.
That was ridiculous too, because they threw
stupid.
like 7 grenades in there, and they take forever to go off.
Like John McClane takes his time. He's like, "Oh, I gotta put the seatbelt on."
Yeah. That's the famous shot from this movie. Like, because in the first film, the famous shot is him jumping off of Nakatomi Plaza when the upper level's blowing up. This one, it's him escaping the
plane's cockpit by injecting himself in the seat,
and getting out at the very last second, and which is also funny too, because he's parachuting down, like, oh, that lucky fucker. They're not like taking pot shots at him, like, oh, he's still alive, because they see he's still alive. It's not like, oh, we got him, and they trollop off, and only to find out later, like, oh, McClane's still alive. No, they know he's still alive, but they're like, nah, we're not gonna fire him. We've already fired like 3,000 rounds, from our MP5Ks, but we're not gonna bother, taking pot shots at him in the sky when he's defenseless. No,
Yeah, I love that scene. I mean, that's really where this film jumps the shark. Because I guess it's hard to believe all of it, but that scene is really the most unbelievable of them all. I don't see how the grenades just have random diffuse. Yeah, just like randomly, like, well, that one takes 7 seconds, the other one takes 4. I don't know. It just that really stretches belief there, but I think though that Die Hard 2 tries to double down on some of that stuff, like action and violence. There's an icicle to the eye in this one.
No, they definitely took like what worked in the first film, as you said, and like the violence and the gunplay. Gotta have a lot more. Fuck. They gotta say fuck a lot more in the
That's why they got Dennis Franz in this.
Say fuck after every other word.
Because he's the main guinea guy that would say,
wow, racist.
Fuck all the time.
Racist on that one, right?
No, I'm just saying that's what they want him to be like.
I know, I understand. I was just busting your balls.
Yeah, no, it seems like that's what they want from him is like.
Well, they gave him the most Italian American, like Carmine Lorenzo. You go out there and you be like, "Hey, bibbidi boppity boo, what the fuck you doing to my airport, huh? Yeah. I know better than you, fuck
I mean, I kind of feel bad for him, for Dennis Franz in a way, because the film goes out of its way to make this guy look like a complete and utter buffoon.
But they do that too in with Die Hard, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, but he's a famous actor. Very stereotypical for playing douchebag roles, because he's the lead, he's the main cop in Die Hard,
right?
And he's all from Breakfast Club Principal, and the Breakfast Club Principal.
Yeah, but I don't know the name.
That's what I'm saying. I can't. His name's escaping me, but I think that's what they're doing too. Like Dennis Franz is like
Yeah, I just
it's
feel
like
bad
like
because
just be like, yeah, okay, you be that stereotypical asshole cop, because they gotta have a counterpoint. So like at the end of the day, like, see, you should have listened to McClane. If you only listened to John McClane at the beginning of this film, none of this would have happened.
Yeah,
but it's stupid at the same time, because it's like, well, why would you be like, oh, those guys are carrying presents and looking kind of, little...
Yeah, there's no reason why any normal person would suspect a gigantic terrorist undercover operation.
Even so, it's like the covenant, okay? So you have a hunch. Where's your evidence?
Yeah.
I can't do anything, I can't just be like, sure,
Right, yeah, that's the thing, like, that's why John McClane seems like such a ridiculous and almost crazy person, because he's like seeing these paranoid scenarios play out when he has no proof of it. So when he actually goes into like stop these guys that are holding on to presents, he seems crazy. He seems nuts. Like, why would any normal sane person think that? And
no, you're right too, because like they do nothing outside from the intro when we, see them like one by one coming out of like the doors of
the hotel room. Yeah. But he didn't see that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So it's like he's got like X-ray vision. He can tell you, they got bad things going.
Yeah, I mean, you call it. I guess they call it his cop hunch, but it seems more like he's just targeting random people.
Cole Phelps here.
Yeah, and then you have like
break that notepad out.
You have the end of the film where John McClane is even crazier. Like he's laying on the runway. He just set a plane on fire.
Which, oh my god. Okay, so the way they shoot that scene too is stupid. They make it seem like the plane's like going so much faster than it actually is. Like Frank O'Neill, like when they show Frank O'Neill in the cockpit, throttling.
He's
the
almost ready to take off.
Yeah, it's like about to hear.
I definitely don't believe that if a plane was going takeoff speeds, that the fire would catch up to it.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
It would take a long time for that fire that McClane,
I don't believe it. I want to see
not only that, you mean to tell me like he didn't notice the fuel gauge plummeting after,
right.
He ripped the door open and it's spouting fuel out of it? You mean to tell me he's like, hey, the fuel, we're not getting, very far out of here because, we're leaking fuel all over the airfield.
Yeah, I want to see a Mythbusters on that.
And the fire's not gonna, like, when, like, the plane's taking off, I don't think the fire's gonna light all the way and then even go up into the air following that gas trail and then, like, poof,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I find poor Miles getting burned alive and his plane crash a little bit more believable from, mislanding because they didn't have the landing gear down, so when they crashed, they just had... Which, by the way, wouldn't that be more gruesome? Just having a plane crash and just like the plane buckle and like, like it would in real life instead of having it just comically blow up.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, oh, like shit, that's,
Yeah, because metal just like
crashing
apart.
into pavement and concrete, at, high speed. Yeah, that's brutal enough. You don't need the plane to go just as soon as it touched the ground, like, like it's GTA, like the early GTA games. Like, oh, you flipped the car over? Well, get out of there. It's gonna,
Well, actually, I think maybe they did that because they wanted it to appear less brutal. Because there's like 150 people on that plane that just blew up. So at least if you blow up, you're probably pretty much just dead.
Yeah,
they're just done.
The impact from the explosion, yeah.
But it's a little bit messier when you have them crash into the ground and like people are thrown around and impaled and shit like that.
Yeah, limping out of there like SpongeBob.
Oh my god!
Like my leg.
Yeah, that's a little bit different.
And I think that adds some character to this.
What I like a lot about this one too is when Holly's plane lands and the pilots are just like, "Nice job," just like pat on the back, like, "Job well done." It's like, no, not a job well done. You guys almost fell out of the sky.
The other thing about this film too is it reminds me way too much of Airplane.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. Like the whole plane part is like totally like Airplane. When like, please assume the crash position, all you think is Airplane. Like, everyone's like like throwing about and like.
Yeah, but I do think that that part of like the having the plane sequences is kind of comical. Maybe it's just a way to break up the suspense a little bit by having some comedy in there, but one of my favorite parts is when they land and the pilots are just like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, because like as I told you, after that they're going to the captain's lounge and they're gonna be fucking drinking their asses off.
And then I also
not only that too, as you said too, like the fucking like they land the plane safely. Why? Because after Bruce Willis blows up the fucking plane that Franco Nero and John Amos and Bill Sadler's on, like, hey, look, there's the runway. Like, they're looking at the burning ashes of a plane crash and the trail of gas. I'm like, yeah, we'll land there. Like, all right, like, everyone's gonna land now. Like, awesome.
Yeah, it's
and Bruce is just there, lying on the ground, cackling like a maniac. Like, I killed probably
50 people. Yeah. No, but yeah, that is funny too, because like, who in their right mind would see like the wreckage of a plane and be like, that's a safe place to land?
I know, like, they did a good job there.
Yeah, no, I don't think that most people would be seeing that and be like, well, let's take our.
And also, not only that, you mean to tell me they didn't see Miles's plane wreckage and think the crash land there? Because that was a burning pyre on a runway.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, but that's. Everybody forgot about that one. It didn't. After it happened, it didn't happen. It was just there for show. Yeah, but then even after that, like you said, John McClane cackling. At the end,
literally like he's lost his mind.
He's completely lost his mind. Because after
total sociopath at the end of this. You know what? The rest of the films in this series didn't even actually happen. They just happened in his mind. He's locked up in a fucking asylum somewhere. Like it's got like John McClane, that fucking nutter, went off the deep end.
Once Holly's plane lands, John's just running around going, Holly! It's like a man comes up. He's like, ma'am, is this your husband? He just has been running all over the airport yelling Holly all night long. I think that a lot of this could have taken place in John's mind. And Holly just had a regular old flight to Washington, D.C. And John found his way out onto the tarmac. And they had to, like, tie him up because he was just going nuts in the airport. And he was saying, there's terrorists everywhere! That's how I like to see Die Hard 2.
I swear to God, I think after watching the trailer for the remake of Death Wish, it's gonna be like Die Hard, just like crazy John McClane, just roaming the streets, bringing down the law.
Probably, yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, that Death Wish trailer looks just like Die Hard. It's like
an extension of Die Hard.
Yeah, basically. It's just Bruce Willis doing John McClane, but doing Charles Bronson.
But I mean.
So what do you think about Die Hard 2? Do you think it's better than Die Hard 1?
No. I guess we'll get into a rating.
Yeah.
Because I have some thoughts, but I'll give the rating. So out of 10 Reginald VelJohnson Twinkies, what do you give Die Hard 2?
I would give Die Hard 2 a 5.5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. So that's a little lower than I thought you'd.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you were actually praising this film quite a bit throughout the review.
I mean, I did praise it, but at the same time, I think that...
Yeah, you weren't really negative. Like, I think almost in like some of the negative things you've brought up, I think you were pretty soft on. So I'm kind of surprised you're going that low. Because it's usually me bringing down the band hammer on things.
Well, I'll say that I think that the idea itself is kind of interesting. And I think that, I like the airport setting. I like that this film has more Christmas in it. Because this is much more of a Christmas film than Die Hard 1. They almost make it a point to, like, get decorations and stuff in the film. I'm kind of
surprised they didn't bring back Run DMC's, Christmas in Hollis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because they make it a point to get Christmas stuff in here.
The whole lobby. The whole first 20 minutes in the airport's, literally.
Yeah. It's all Christmas. Even, when they go into town, they make sure they have decorations everywhere. It's to make.
And the fact that I think you're right. The fact they said it in DC is so we can have snow.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And
and so not only is there terrorists,
20 years later, there won't be any debate about this being a Christmas film like Die Hard. This is a Christmas film.
It is a Christmas film. I think people just are hesitant to just watch it in general.
Well, because they're probably like you, and they just didn't see it. They saw Die Hard, and then Die Hard 3.
Yeah, and then they skipped over this
because you weren't watching UPN at 5 a.m.
That's right. But I would say that even though, it has an interesting story and it has more Christmas and it doubles down on violence and stuff like that, I would say that for the most part, this film is just really slow. it's a much slower film.
Plotting.
And yeah, it's plotting. It's almost like Firefight, lots of exposition dialogue. Firefight, lots of exposition and like set pieces.
And the firefights aren't even that good. Because they're very
Agreed.
generic, just like, oh, you know, bad guys ripping off fucking rounds, like they're, you know, going out of style.
Yeah, I would say that the firefights aren't very good because they just aren't really that realistic. Because it's like people just shooting willy-nilly.
Yeah, those MP5Ks have 30 round mags. You're not, you know, sitting there just... trust me, if you just sat there and held the trigger, like, boom, that's it. You're not sitting there for 2 minutes. Not only that, I mean, I know, you know, John carries an M9, so that's why he's able to kind of, you know, because it's got like 16, 18 rounds in it. You know, playing video games, I know that kind of stuff. But, you know. But it's just like funny because he's literally like just spraying and praying too. He's like, John, you're a trained police officer. Use some marksmanship. Like, there's only like one instance in this film where he uses marksmanship, where he shoots Esperanza, but he shoots, you know, he doesn't shoot to kill. He shoots him in the shoulder to wound him because he wants him taken in. Where it's like he clearly could have just shot him in the fucking head there and like, hey, credits, you know.
It's over.
When like the colonel and Amos show up, be like, all right, he's dead. Let's go, you know.
We're done.
And move on, but
yeah, I mean, I just think that some of that stuff is just not as effective as the original, and it's so much, like they're trying to double down on it, but the whole thing is just more unrealistic because of that. Whereas, I mean, I would say Die Hard isn't very realistic either, but at least it has good action pieces to it, and I would say that this one has a lot less effective action pieces and just a lot of plotting scenes where it just kind of goes on and meanders for no reason.
I think generic would be a really good
yeah, I mean, it's just basically
a by the numbers action sequel.
It's a really copy paste from Die Hard, except for the storyline, which, like I said, I think is pretty good. And if they had gone more with that and, you know, maybe lessened John McClane's influence on this film, it could have been a more successful film.
I'm going to be nicer than you for once. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Guys, I actually thought you'd be along a 6 or a 7 the way you kind of talked about. But I'll give it a 6 out of 10. And the reason is, I agree with you. I think the premise is a interesting and good idea. It's got a lot of high stakes to it. I think the idea of putting it in an airport is really creative, and I think it gives them a lot more to kind of do with the scenario than compared to, say, Die Hard 1, where it's just at a giant business building. I think with an airport, you get the control tower involvement, you get the runway, the tarmac, and all that. So I think it's interesting. I think the idea itself is interesting, because as we were talking about when we were watching the film, the 90s had a hard-on for films that involve airplanes and in their action films, airplanes and disgruntled military vets that, you know, had a bone to pick, and that's why they became terrorists. And this is like kind of a forefather in that, because you have airplanes, you know, and
disgruntled military operatives
and
in Grenada.
The airport. I was drawing a blank on the word airport. Jesus Christ, that's the state of my life. But so I think I agree with you. I think the concept's pretty cool and really neat. I think the problem though is John McClane, at least for me, outside Die Hard 1, is not a likable hero. He's not a likable character. He's a piece of shit. Because I don't find his witty one-liners and banter and what he does in the films to be endearing. Yeah, he's right when he's assessing things and following his gut, like that, you know, like, oh, he's the cop that has the gut instinct and follows it. But at the same time, he's not likable because he's a prick to everybody. Instead of trying to, like, hey, like, I'm going to need people to help me, especially after fucking Die Hard 1, you think, like, I'm going to need backup. I'm going to need people supporting me in what we're trying to do here. You know, you'd think, like, hey, maybe a softer touch, you know, you're going to attract more flies with honey, John, that, you know, than, you know, being salty about it. So, I mean, I think, as you said, I think Bruce Willis is one of the big flaws in this film. Because he's such an unlikable, miserable prick in this. That And I think it carries on throughout the rest of the franchise. Him, especially now with Bruce Willis, how he portrays things now. He's just literally a miserable piece of shit in every film he does now. Just like, all right, because that's his stereotype. I will say, though, excuse me, casting, I think the cast, pretty damn good cast. I think, Bill Sadler's really good. John Amos, I think he's good, too, and a delight. Franco Nero, it's great to see him get, work outside of an Italian film,
Still looking dapper as
Oh,
always.
he looks amazing in this, The way he looks it now would be like something like you would expect, like, people now, like, would be like, that's how I gotta look. Hair and beard, perfectly trimmed and coiffed.
Yeah.
I think he's good. Reginald VelJohnson in his cameo that gets top billing,
Yeah.
I would have loved to see him more, because even though I didn't like the interaction in Die Hard 1 between him and John, because I thought it was too forced and overly stereotypical noir-y in how they had their conversations, which is the same case in this film, they handled it the same way, I still think it would have been nice to see him more. I think Fred Thompson's good in this, too, as, Trudeau, the control operator. He's, a pretty solid actor, in my opinion. I may not agree with him politically, but, solid actor. And I think Dennis Franz steals the show in this one. He's great. As, the buffoonish cop. Though I agree with you, I think he is made to look like an asshole, even though he's, he is pretty much right for the most part. But I think he's great. And it just shows, what he'll eventually do later on with, like, NYPD.
A much better role for NYPD. Even though
it's more grounded and more character driven. I think and I agree with you too. I think the action is pretty bland and boring. Outside of a couple of things like the airplane crash, the ejection from the airplane. I think most of it's pretty bland and boring. It's very dull gunfighting. There's no stakes involved. It's just like they amped up the gore and violence in this. Like they had to have John Amos get shoved through a airplane turbine to like we're out doing the gore in this one.
Yeah, icicle eye stabbing, stuff like that.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. It was ridiculous, but so I think it's got good aspects to it, and I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to take what worked in the first film and amplify it, and they did. But I think it's a detriment because at this point it's almost coming to self-parodying, which I don't think they were going for. I think they were literally trying let's take the first film and amp it up. And I think it's a mixed bag. Honestly, I've seen this film 1,000 times, but I haven't seen it in 7 years. Because I used to watch, like I said, it used to be on TV all the time, so I used to always catch it. And I remember always thinking, it's a good film. I don't know why it doesn't get as much praise as the first film. After watching it now, it's obvious why it doesn't get as much praise, because it succeeds in certain parts, but it fails in others and makes it much more less memorable than the first film.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker at the end of this film was literally there.
That's really forced. It was I said it in the first one, so
yeah, and again, a lot of the dialogue Bruce Willis has with himself, it's you're just trying to do him crawling through the air vent in Nakatomi Plaza, just have a few laughs, have a couple of drinks, So when he's we're what am I doing, John? This is ridiculous. Just why can't we have a normal Christmas? It's it's okay, you're drawing from the first film. We got it.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest detriment to this film too is its runtime. It should be a 90-minute film. This film has no reason to be 2 hours. It spends way too much time wasted in the air with John's wife and Thornburg. They waste way too much time on John Amos's military crew, where they could have just had him show up and then find out they're turncoats. You didn't have to draw that out. They didn't have to draw the opening out in the film too of him trying to tell everyone what's going on. They could have really, and it seems like at first they're really going to get right into the terrorists attacking the airport, but they don't. It seems like they're going to, but they draw that fucker out forever, for 20, 30 minutes, where it's you could have really just been he's at the airport, he's looking for his wife, goes on the phone, and all of a sudden a terrorist attack breaks out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they were just trying to match the first one, which is at 2 hours and 12 minutes. So they wanted to extend the runtime a bit, and it's just unnecessary. At that point, this is one of those films, an action film, you can really get in and get out. You don't really need to be languishing in the idea. All right, so I think that's going to end our Festivus series for this month. Except we do have I think we're going to do a special episode next week to close out 2017 with New Year's Evil, which I think is a fun film. It's not necessarily a good film, but it'll be a fun one to talk about. It's one of those holiday slashers like My Bloody Valentine.
Sorry.
April Fool's Day. They came around and it was like, what are some of the holidays that we haven't done yet? Oh, New Year's Eve? All right, let's do that one. And it was like, and then they were like, wait a second, New Year's Eve. New Year's Evil. All right, there's the story right there. It's really cheesy. It's based on like rock bands.
You know, now that I think about it, does that put Tenebrae on a higher level because they kind of picked like an offbeat, like if you're not like a Catholic, for like picking like to be based around kind of a offbeat Catholic holiday?
Yeah.
Now, because I'm trying to think about it, like how could you like make like films about certain holidays? I'm trying to think of like obscure holidays off the top of my head, like Flag Day.
Yeah, like Boxing Day. Stuff like that. Memorial Day.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Than, you know, like in memoriam.
I mean, Creepshow did Father's Day. So.
But again, that makes more. You just like have like a killer mother, killer father, but
Yeah. I mean, but well, you'll see. New Year's Evil is fun. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's basically like, let's take what happens in Times Square where they have all the like, Dick Clark's New Year's Eve with bands and stuff like that.
That got sad for a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's basically like that, except not with Dick Clark and with 80s rock bands, hair bands.
Is it an 80s movie?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, now
you're intrigued.
Now I am intrigued.
It's gonna be fun.
White Snake.
Yeah, I mean it's like that. It's fun. It's a fun movie. So that'll be our special before.
My question is, why would anybody want to go to Times Square for New Year's?
Sounds terrible.
No, thank you.
I don't want to.
No,
Just pee in some diapers.
I have no interest in going to Times Square.
I'll be honest with you. I take like 4 shits a day. I mean, just thinking about how I'm going to be in Times Square, at the time, I'm probably going to have taken 3 shits.
I don't like taking. I was saying I don't like taking shits at work. Like I do it now. I do it now because I've become accustomed to like on the clock, 11 o'clock at work. I gotta take a shit.
Right, but at this point, like you can't leave your spot.
No,
so
I know.
You just shit in your pants
or like piss or whatever. Like I'm not gonna just like
Yep. It sounds terrible.
I know.
I need to eat like 5 times a day.
And I wouldn't want to go to Times Square, period. Like, even on, like, when it's, like, just a normal day.
I like it.
I have no interest.
It's fun to go.
No, I have no point. Like, I have no interest.
Someday we'll take a trip.
Take me to the South Bronx.
Bus trip.
Oh, bus? Not even
trip.
Not even the train. You're going to be like, bus trip.
I've got magical memories of bus trips with applesauce trucks being peeled off and shit. So.
Yeah, but that was down to the South Bronx.
Yeah.
Go see the Yankees.
Fun stuff. All right, so we're going to do New Year's Evil next week.
God, I can't wait for baseball season.
It'll be so fun. Thank you for listening.
Which episode are we on, by the way?
This is 96, I believe.
That's it? I thought we were
97, maybe?
I thought we were going to be up to 100 by the time we were done with this.
Well, like we took the break last week.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
I think it's 97, if I'm not mistaken.
We're good curators,
I always forget. It gets so hard to just keep track of it.
You're good.
Yeah, 97. We're on 97.
So the 100's coming up.
Yep, 100's coming up.
Big special.
That's right. Fun one. We're gonna have a blast.
I can't wait for it. It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. We hope you tune in next week for our finale for 2017, which will be New Year's Evil. You can catch us on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud or any other podcasting app. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We are on Twitter as well at Blood and Black Rum. We have a website, bloodandblackrumPodcast.wordpress.com. We're on Cultsploitation Podcast Network. And if you're interested, you can join our podcast network if you are a movie podcasting podcast or site that would like to join up. We also have a email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can write to us. You can tell us anything about past episodes and we'll read it on the show, or if you have any suggestions for new movies, we will definitely take those into consideration as well. And then finally, we have a Patreon page where you can help fund our podcast, because this does come out of our own pocket. So to keep the lights on, you can donate to us for as much as little as $1.
Can we get Tom Bodette?
Yeah, I wish.
We'll leave the lights on.
You can donate to us. You can that comes out every month. So whatever you donate is going to come out every month. But we really appreciate it, and it helps us fund the podcast. So if you like listening to us, make sure you check us out at patreon.com/bloated podcast and donate what you can. So thank you for listening. This concludes our Festivus series. We hope you have a happy and Merry Christmas. And we will be back after Christmas next Thursday with New Year's Evil. So stay tuned.
Take care.